The Aurelian spire did not orbit the star, it haunted it. Suspended above a fading blue giant, the structure stretched like a broken spear through vacuum, its ancient surfaces flickering with dying energy fields. Once, it had been a monument to unity. Now, it was a relic clinging to relevance in a galaxy that had outlived its certainty. Commander Alara Vance watched it grow across her viewport as her shuttle approached docking range. "Atmospheric seals confirmed," the pilot said. "You'll be received in Hall 7. Alara nodded once. "Understood." No ceremony. No escort fleet. No allies. Humanity had been summoned, not welcomed. The docking clamps locked with a hollow thud that echoed through the hull. For a brief moment, she remained seated, fingers resting lightly against the console. The reflection staring back at her was composed, unreadable. Years of command had carved that mask into place. Inside, something tighter held. She stood. The corridor beyond the airlock was vast and dim, illuminated by soft bioluminescent veins running along the walls. The architecture shifted subtly as she walked, angles bending, surfaces pulsing, built for species that did not share human symmetry. Delegates were already arriving. A towering, crystalline entity refracted the light into fractured rainbows as it moved. Nearby, a cluster of floating organisms drifted as one, communicating in flickers of color. Others were less visible, distortions in space, presences felt rather than seen. Every one of them paused. Not out of respect. Observation. Alara met their attention without slowing. Let them look. Let them measure. They already think they know what we are. The doors to Hall 7 opened without sound. The chamber inside was colossal, shaped like a descending amphitheater spiraling toward a central platform. At its core hovered a circular field of pale light, the speaking locus. Above it, suspended in tiers, the representatives of the last Galactic Council took their positions. Ancient species? Survivors of ages humanity could barely comprehend. And all of them had come to decide whether humanity deserved to continue. Alara Vance of Soul. A voice resonated, not loud, but absolute. You stand as the sole representative of your species. The speaker revealed itself gradually, a shifting mass of dark geometry and soft luminescence. Archon Threxel. Even still, the chamber seemed to bend around him. Alara stepped into the central light. I do. No amplification carried her voice, yet it reached every corner. A pause followed. Not silence, evaluation. The proceedings will begin, Threxel said. You have been summoned to answer for the destabilization of this galaxy. The words landed without hostility. That made them heavier. A ripple passed through the assembled delegates. One by one, projections ignited in the air above the platform, maps, timelines, expanding clusters of human-controlled systems. Within 2 centuries, Threxel continued, your species has spread across 37 sectors. You have altered ecosystems without consensus, redirected stellar resources, interfered with established boundaries. Each point struck like a measured pulse. Alara kept her posture steady. She had studied these charges, memorized every incident, justified each decision 1,000 times over. You adapt, Threxel said. You innovate. You expand. These traits are not disputed. As shift, subtle, but deliberate. They are the reason you stand here. The projections changed. Predictive models unfolded, branching simulations of human growth. In each, the same outcome emerged: instability, conflict, collapse spreading outward like fracture lines through glass. Mere cycles separate you from irreversible disruption, Threxel concluded. A low murmur moved through the chamber: agreement, unease, anticipation. Alara spoke before it could settle. You present projections, not certainties. Probability governs survival, Threxel replied. Your trajectory exceeds acceptable thresholds. There it was. Not accusation. Calculation. Alara drew a slow breath. And yet we are here. Not conquering. Not demanding. Answering. A flicker passed through the upper tiers, interest, perhaps. Intent does not outweigh outcome, Threxel said. No, Elara agreed. But it defines it. For the first time, she let a trace of something through, edge, not emotion. You see expansion, she continued. You see disruption. What you don't see is context. Then provide it. The invitation was precise, and dangerous. Elara glanced upward, taking in the vast assembly. Every species here had survived by narrowing risk, by controlling variables, by resisting change. Humanity had survived by doing the opposite. The galaxy you preserve, she said carefully, is already failing. Systems collapse. Stars decay. Civilizations withdraw to maintain what little remains. A faint tightening rippled through the chamber. We didn't cause that decline, she added. We were born into it. Silence followed. Not rejection. Not acceptance. Consideration. Threxel's form shifted, edges sharpening. And your response is expansion. Our response is survival. The two words hung between them. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Threxel spoke again, softer now, yet somehow more final. Survival, he said, is precisely what is in question. The light beneath Elara dimmed slightly, signaling the transition. The Council will now hear formal testimonies, he announced. Your defense will follow. The projections dissolved. The chamber adjusted. Around her, ancient eyes turned inward. Judgment was no longer abstract. It was beginning. Elara straightened, every sense sharpening as the first delegate descended toward the speaking locus. This isn't about proving them wrong, she realized. It's about proving we deserve to exist. And from the weight settling over the chamber, she understood one thing with absolute clarity. The decision might already have been made. The first delegate did not walk. It unfolded. A lattice of translucent limbs extended into the central light, each segment pulsing with slow, deliberate rhythm. Its voice arrived in layered tones, harmonizing with itself. We are the Thalary Conclave, it said. We present evidence of human disruption. Above Elara, a projection formed, once stable trade routes bending around newly charted human systems. Our transit corridors sustain 12 civilizations, the Thalary continued. Your expansion forced rerouting. Losses followed. Not through hostility, through disregard. Elara kept her gaze steady. She remembered the report. Emergency colonization had required those routes. Supplies had been stretched thin. We did not intend harm, she said. Intent does not restore what was lost. The Thalary withdrew as smoothly as it had arrived. Another descended. This one was dense, mineral, its surface etched with deep fractures that glowed faintly from within. Velka Dominion, it rumbled. We submit Incident Theta 9. A barren world appeared, then shifted into a lush, green sphere. Terraforming by human initiative, the Velka said. Atmospheric conversion destabilized our subcrustal habitats. Entire networks collapsed. Elara felt the weight of it. That project had been rushed. A marginal world made viable, but not for everyone. We offered relocation, she replied. You offered adaptation, the Velka corrected. To a system not ours. The implication settled heavily, survival, but at a cost imposed by others. More followed. A species of drifting organisms described how human probes interfered with their migratory patterns. A compact, avian-like delegate detailed how human mining operations disrupted gravitational balances in their system's outer ring. Each testimony was precise. Controlled. Difficult to dismiss. Not accusations born of malice, records of consequence. The chambers shifted with every account. Subtle alignments formed among the tiers above. Elara watched it happen, the slow tilt toward agreement. Toward containment. When the final projection dimmed, the silence that followed carried weight. Your response, Threxel said. Elara stepped forward, drawing breath carefully. We expanded quickly, she began. That is not in dispute. We made decisions under pressure, limited resources, unstable systems, a species still learning to survive beyond its origin. No interruption. No visible reaction. We corrected where we could, she continued. Established treaties. Shared technology. Open trade. A faint flicker rippled through one section, acknowledgement, perhaps. We did not act to dominate, she said. We acted to endure. The words felt measured, reasoned, and insufficient. A pause stretched. Then Threxel moved. The projections returned, larger now, more complex. Human expansion mapped against time. Growth accelerating, branching outward in unpredictable vectors. Your corrections, he said, do not alter trajectory. Lines extended beyond current borders, simulated futures, each more expansive than the last. Your species adapts at a rate unmatched in recorded history, he continued. You solve limitations faster than they constrain you. Elara held her ground. That is not a flaw. It is a variable, Threxel replied. Unbounded. The models shifted again, overlaying human presence with zones of instability. Systems strained. Conflicts emerging in probability fields. You interpret growth as necessity, he said. We interpret it as escalation. A murmur followed, deeper this time. Agreement spreading. Elara felt it tightening around her. You speak of survival, Threxel went on. Yet your methods increase systemic risk for all. We've prevented collapse, Elara said sharply. Stabilized regions. Unverified, Threxel cut in. Unrecorded. The word hung between them. Unrecorded. Elara stopped herself from responding too quickly. That line mattered. Timing mattered. Not yet. Then record it, she said instead. Examine the full scope before passing judgment. We examine patterns, Threxel replied. Patterns predict outcome. His form shifted subtly, angles aligning with quiet finality. In all observed cases, he added, rapid unregulated expansion results in conflict. Elara's jaw tightened. We are not those cases. A pause. No, Threxel agreed. You are not. For the first time, something almost like curiosity edged his tone. You are faster, he said. More adaptable. More unpredictable. Not praise. A warning. And therefore, he concluded, more dangerous. The chamber absorbed it. The word settled deeper than any accusation before it. Dangerous. Elara exhaled slowly, forcing her thoughts into order. Logic alone was failing. Every point she made was being reframed, redirected, absorbed into a larger argument she couldn't outpace. This wasn't a debate of facts. It was a reinforcement of fear. Above her, subtle movements signaled shifting positions. Several delegates leaned toward Threxel's side of the chamber. Others remained still, but no longer neutral. Containment was no longer a possibility. It was becoming consensus. Elara felt the realization settle cold and clear. If nothing changed, humanity would be confined, or worse. She opened her mouth to speak again. Request to address the council. The voice cut through the chamber, thin but distinct. Everything paused. From the outer tier, a small figure descended slowly into the light. Compared to the others, it seemed almost insignificant, its form compact, movements hesitant. Elara didn't recognize the species. That alone made it important. Threxel turned slightly. Identify. We are the Lethari, the figure said. We have not yet spoken. A faint ripple moved through the assembly, confusion, mild irritation. Your petition is noted, Threxel replied. Proceed. The Lethari moved closer to the center, its presence steadying as it faced the chamber. We submit testimony, it said, in defense of humanity. The words landed sharply. For the first time since the proceedings began, the momentum shifted. Not enough to change the outcome, but enough to interrupt it. Elara's focus locked onto the small figure. Whatever came next, it mattered. The Ledhari stood alone in the central light. Compared to the towering delegates surrounding them, their forms seemed almost fragile, slender, dimly luminescent, as if their existence required careful preservation. Yet their voice did not waver. "We contest the prevailing assessment," the Ledhari said. A faint stir passed through the chamber. Not outrage, uncertainty. Until now, the narrative had been consistent. Humanity expanded, disrupted, endangered. The pattern was clear. The Ledhari introduced doubt. "State your relevance," Threxel said. "We are direct beneficiaries of human intervention," the Ledhari replied. "Without it, our species would not be present." That drew attention. Above the platform, a projection unfolded. A system on the verge of collapse, its central star unstable, its orbiting bodies fractured by gravitational stress. "This was our home," the Ledhari continued. "Cycle 1123. Stellar decay accelerated beyond predicted limits." The image shifted. A chain reaction, planets destabilizing, atmospheres stripping away. "Evacuation was not possible," they said. "We lacked capacity. External aid was not requested." A pause. None would have arrived. Elara watched the chamber closely. No one disputed that. In a galaxy stretched thin, extinction events were managed through distance, not intervention. The projection changed again. Human vessels entered the frame. Unmarked. Sparse. Improvised. "They arrived without announcement," the Ledhari said. "They redirected mass from outer bodies. Constructed stabilizing arrays. Extended our star's lifespan beyond collapse threshold." A murmur rippled outward, quieter than before but sharper. "They remained for 6 cycles," the Ledhari added. "They depleted their own reserves. Lost vessels. Then departed." The projection faded. "No claim was made," they finished. "No record submitted." Silence followed. Elara did not move. She let it settle, let the absence of denial speak. Threxel's form shifted, angles adjusting with precise intent. "Unverified intervention," he said. "It can be verified," the Ledhari replied. "We possess data." "Why was it not shared?" Threxel asked. "Because it was not offered," the Ledhari said simply. That landed differently. Not secrecy. Restraint. All eyes turned, some literally, others through less visible means, toward Elara. She stepped forward. "It wasn't an isolated case," she said. The chamber stilled. Elara raised her hand slightly, and new projections emerged, scattered points across distant sectors. Systems marked by subtle anomalies. Stabilizations. Recoveries that had no recorded source. "We've intervened where we could," she continued. Quietly. Indirectly. Not because it benefited us, but because the alternative was extinction. A delegate from the upper tiers shifted, its voice sharp. "And yet you expand aggressively elsewhere." "Yes," Elara said. "Because we have to." No hesitation. "We don't have the luxury of stagnation," she went on. "Our systems are young. Unstable. We push outward because standing still means collapse." The statement carried weight, not as defense, but as reality. Threxel regarded her. "You claim dual intent. Expansion and preservation." "We act on both," Elara said. "Not perfectly. Not without cost." The Velker delegate stirred. "Your actions harmed us." "I know," Elara replied, meeting its gaze. "And we offered what we could to repair it." "Insufficient," the Velka said. "Sometimes," she agreed. That acknowledgement shifted something subtle in the chamber. Not absolution, but recognition. She wasn't denying fault. She was owning it. Threxel's voice returned, quieter now. "Altruism does not negate trajectory." "No," Elara said. "But it defines direction." A pause. Then she continued, more measured. "You see our growth and assume conquest. You see our adaptability and assume instability. But you're missing the context that shapes those traits. The projection shifted again, this time not of distant systems, but of Earth. A blue world scarred by its past. We nearly ended ourselves, Elara said. The chamber watched. Before we reached the stars, we came close to extinction, multiple times. War. Resource collapse. Environmental failure. Images flickered, fragmented, incomplete, but enough to convey scale. We learned from that, she continued. Not because we were wise. Because we had no choice. Her voice didn't rise. It steadied. We understand what it means to lose everything, she said. That's why we intervene when we can. That's why we expand when we must. The Ledhari inclined slightly, as if reinforcing her words. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Threxel moved. You present a contradiction, he said. A species capable of preservation and disruption. Yes, Elara said. No deflection. No softening. We are both. The admission settled heavily. Threxel's form sharpened, lines aligning with quiet precision. Then the risk remains. It does, Elara said. Another pause. But this one felt different. Less certain. Around the chamber, subtle shifts continued. Delegates that had leaned decisively now hesitated. Others, previously silent, engaged more actively, processing, recalculating. The narrative was no longer singular. It had fractured. Not enough to guarantee survival, but enough to challenge inevitability. Threxel observed it all. Your evidence introduces variance, he said. But not resolution. I'm not asking for certainty, Elara replied. I'm asking for consideration. A faint ripple passed through the chamber. Consideration. Not trust. Not acceptance. Just the willingness to question a conclusion already forming. Threxel held her gaze, or the closest equivalent. Then you will have one final opportunity, he said. The chamber dimmed slightly, signaling transition. Prepare your concluding argument. The words carried weight. Final. Decisive. The projections faded, leaving only the central light. Elara exhaled slowly, tension settling into focus. Around her, the council shifted once more, not unified, not divided, but suspended between outcomes. For the first time since her arrival, the future was no longer fixed. But it wasn't safe either. It had simply become uncertain. Silence gathered before Elara stepped forward. It wasn't empty. It pressed from every direction, expectation, doubt, calculation. The council waited, suspended between judgment and hesitation. No projections filled the space now. No data. No simulations. Only her. Elara stood at the center of the light and let the stillness settle. She had prepared arguments, counterpoints, contingencies. None of them mattered anymore. This was not about winning. It was about being understood. She lifted her gaze toward the tiers above. You've heard what we've done wrong, she began. Her voice carried without force. You've seen where we've disrupted balance, where we moved too quickly, where we failed to see the full cost of our actions. No denial. No deflection. That's all true. A faint shift rippled outward. Not surprise, attention. We are not a careful species, she continued. We don't move slowly. We don't wait for perfect conditions. We act, we adapt, and sometimes we break things we don't intend to. She paused, letting the admission stand on its own. And then we fix them, she said. A delegate stirred above her. Your corrections remain incomplete. They always will, Elara replied, meeting the interruption directly. Because we're not finished changing. That drew a different kind of reaction, uncertainty edged with discomfort. Threxel's presence sharpened slightly. Instability is not a virtue. No, Elara said. But stagnation isn't survival. The chamber held that. You've built a system that avoids risk, she went on. You preserve what exists. You minimize variables. And it worked for a time. Her gaze moved across the council. But look around you, she said quietly. Stars are failing. Systems are collapsing. Civilizations are shrinking to maintain what little they have left. No projection was needed. They knew. You call us dangerous because we change things, Elara continued. Because we don't fit into the patterns you trust. She took a step forward. You're right to be cautious, she said. We are unpredictable. We expand. We make mistakes. Another step. But you're wrong about what that means. The words landed sharper now, not louder but clearer. We don't grow because we want control, she said. We grow because we have to. Because staying still, for us, has always meant extinction. A pause stretched across the chamber. We've faced it before, she added. Not as a theory. Not as a projection. As reality. Her voice softened, not weaker, but grounded. We know what it's like to lose everything, she said. To watch systems fail, to watch people disappear, to stand at the edge of ending and realize no one is coming to save you. The memory lingered beneath her words, unspoken but present. That's why we act, she continued. Not because we're reckless. Because we refuse to let that happen again, anywhere we can prevent it. A subtle shift moved through the upper tiers. Something had changed, not agreement, but recognition. Threxel spoke, measured as ever. Intent does not eliminate risk. No, Elara said. It doesn't. She didn't hesitate. But it changes what we do with it. Silence followed. We don't deny what we are, she said. We're not asking you to ignore the danger we might pose. We're asking you to see the choice we make every time that danger exists. Her gaze held steady. We could take more than we do, she said. We could prioritize our survival at the expense of others. We don't. A faint movement from the Lethari reinforced the point. We intervene, Elara went on. Quietly. Without recognition. Because we know what extinction looks like, and we won't stand by and let it happen if we have the power to stop it. She let the words settle before continuing. You see unpredictability, she said. We see possibility. The chamber seemed to draw inward. You see a threat to stability, she added. We see a chance to change what's already failing. Her voice lowered slightly. You've survived by holding on to what works, she said. We survived by becoming something new. A long pause followed. No interruptions came. No counterarguments. Only consideration. Elara exhaled slowly. We are not your past mistakes, she said. We are what comes after them. The words settled with quiet finality. She stepped back. For a moment, nothing moved. Then Threxel spoke. The council will vote. The chamber shifted. Lights dimmed along the outer tiers as each delegate prepared to cast their decision. No voices accompanied the process, only subtle pulses of energy, signals transmitted across the network that bound them. Elara stood still, watching. One by one, the decisions registered. Containment. Recognition. Containment. Abstention. Recognition. The pattern formed slowly, unevenly. No clear outcome emerged at first. Each vote carried weight, tipping the balance incrementally. Elara kept her expression steady, though every shift pressed tighter against her chest. This was it. No more arguments. No more chances. Only judgment. The final votes approached. A long pause followed the last signal. Then the chamber brightened slightly. Threxel's form stabilized at the center of the upper tier. The result is determined, he said. Every presence focused inward. Humanity is granted conditional sovereignty. The words landed with measured clarity. Expansion permitted under observation. Interference monitored. Violations subject to immediate review. Not acceptance. Not freedom. But survival. A quiet release moved through Elara, controlled, contained, but real. Above her, reactions varied. Some delegates withdrew, their decision complete. Others remained, their attention lingering. Threxel regarded her once more. You remain a variable, he said. Elara met the statement without flinching. So does everything worth becoming. A brief pause followed. Then, almost imperceptibly, Threxel's form shifted. Not agreement. Not opposition. Something else. Interest. The chamber began to empty, the council dissolving back into the vastness beyond the spire. Elara remained where she was for a moment longer, the fading blue star visible through the distant aperture. Dying. But not gone. She turned, steady now, and walked toward the exit. Humanity had not been accepted. It hadn't been trusted. But it had not been erased. And that was enough. Because humanity had never needed permission to survive. Only the chance to prove it would.